Okay, guys, well, we all saw this coming, but we didn't know what was involved. So, let's find out.
Let the lesson begin.
What's up, guys? Akariss here, bringing another Fire Emblem Heroes video. Today's video is the Valentine's banner of 2022, and I think at this point, based on last year's Valentine's banner, introducing save skills, by the way, if you don't remember, with Henriette and Gustav, and Dual Lift being on that one, it's time to look at a brand new set of Valentine's banner units, and do they actually live up to it? That is the question. Now, just again, quick few announcements before we begin. My impressions on these units is I am likely going to try to, again, release the Should You Poll video before the banner is out, and I know that helped out quite a few of you, so again, thank you for that feedback, and I'll do my best to release it. We do have the stats in this video, and of course the skills, and I can do my analysis on Chrom, and therefore provide you guys with my opinion on what exactly may or may not be worth pulling for. The other units here, I'll talk about them in this video, what I think of them. Even though I don't know their stats, I can kind of assume a certain stat spread or fodder or certain roles that they might have, so we're definitely going to take a look at that video. I'm also fairly excited about the Lissa freebie, and I will likely try to release a video on that as well before Tempest Trial. So I have a little bit ahead of me, and yeah, that's what I wanted to say before we get into this. If you do like this content, then I really do ask that at the bare minimum that you smash the like button and just show me that this video matters to you, and the rest of the videos, that is my data, that is my analysis that I do behind the scenes to see what you guys want, what you guys talk about in my comment section and whatnot. Another thing I'll ask for is maybe consider the Patreon description below to directly support me. If that is too inconvenient, there's also a join button here on YouTube that also supports the content I do. Those are ways that, again, show me that you guys want me to be here and keep producing this hopefully useful content for you in the game we all love and enjoy. That's it from my spiel. There are no sponsors, nothing like that. I've kept it that way for years, and I intend to. So, let's do this thing. First up is Lucina. And with Lucina, what do we got?
This is a festival of love, isn't it? This is my chance to show everyone just how much they mean to me.
Okay, so first of all, she's a green axe armor, which, if you guys know my opinion on green axe armors, I think they're actually the best near save armors, but only a specific kind of green axe armor do I think is actually the best kind, which is the speedy versions. And I'm talking strictly about Amelia and actually Picnic Felicia as like the two best green axe armors in my opinion. The reason that they are is because while Null Sea Disrupt works on Ascended Fjorm for far save scenarios where she basically beats out the wind sweeps from range, there is no answer to melee wind sweep such as Brave Alm, or anyone really that uses some sort of wind sweep effects. Specifically just wind sweep in the B skill. And the answer to that isn't to like use a slow armor like Brave, let's say, just like Gustav or Brave Edelgard, but rather to actually use a fast armor who just outspeeds those particular units. So if you run into these like wind sweep effects, then you overcome that not being able to retaliate, but you also, in the case of some other threats such as Brave Erica, who absolutely demolishes a lot of armors, can just outspeed her and therefore just take away most of her threat in general. So I do think that this version of Lucina being a green axe armor is actually in a good spot and likely to be very competitive even as a one-off or potentially a +1, and I'll explain why as we look through the skills here, but generally speaking this is lined up to be one of the best melee and near save armors that I've seen so far. And I don't usually say this about like new releases or seasonals or such, but this kit and what likely is her stat spread being very fast in nature is going to actually be pretty good for her, as I explain why in the current meta. So, okay, first of all, she comes with Future Vision, so that's a pretty big deal. Mobility is always a problem with armors, and having literally a skill that enhances that mobility is amazing. So you may not have to rely on Armor March, Armored Stride, or ground orders or anything, guidance or anything like that, but that definitely helps quite a bit. But Future Vision is effectively a method to get more distance or be in the right positions that an armor wants to be in for stuff like save skills or just even have more player phase threat. This is why Brave Edelgard is still good, because she's effectively not limited by an armor's biggest weakness being mobility. So Future Vision being here is just icing on the cake. And of course she comes with other stuff here, which we'll talk about. Her weapon synergizes with Future Vision by basically saying if a movement is a skill, like reposition, shove, pivot, etc. It's hilarious that they don't mention Future Vision in the actual text here because like it's obviously meant to synergize, but whatever. If she uses Future Vision or her allies use some sort of skill on her, such as Reposition, they are going to get another type of buff. Kind of the same thing as what like Thogan on Legendary Lucina does, where like that one gives an auto double. This one gives a neutralizes foes bonuses effect. That's pretty good against specific strategies and specific units. Specifically, I would say the units that kind of rely on like bonus doubler effects, like Legendary Elwood giving bonus doubler from afar, or other units who just kind of get a lot out of stats, such as not, or like not basically doubling up on that sort of thing. So those units do get hampered by this, and like Blade Tomes, but no one really uses Blade Tomes anyways, so who cares? But yeah, so that's actually decent. It's not, I don't think, as good as the auto double effect, but it's still pretty good. And it's definitely supportive. Like you can give your ally that, and they don't have to run like Distant Defense 4 or Close Defense 4. And you can actually just run something else, such as Kestrel Stance, which you'll see here. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's a solid base effect. The weapon is speed 3, as I mentioned. She's probably going to be fast. I have no doubt that she's going to be fast. And she has a foe initiation clause or foe HP 75%, whatever. Basically gets 5 to all stats, and then has an additional reduced damage from foes' first attack during combat by 40%. This is really good to combine with deflect type seals, so deflect melee, for example, or deflect magic, or whatever. Probably melee if you're going to combine it with something, just because I see her being more near save oriented. So if you wanted to deal with, let's say, brave effects, and units who are running brave weapons, then deflect melee synergizes with this if you choose to use it. Keep in mind though that piercing DR, such as stuff like Twin Blades, notably, I think for melee would be Twin Blades, can pierce through this. But other than that, there's not actually too much effects that pierce damage reduction through the melee range. Most of it tends to be ranged in general, such as Lethality, Deadeye, Dual Lift. So the funny part is, I guess someone like Winter Altina should actually do quite a bit of damage, maybe, just because of Twin Blades. Anyways, Kestrel Stance, again, synergizes really well because you don't have to use something like Close Defense 4, so synergistic kit. And finally, we have the introduction of a new fighter skill being Savvy Fighter. Savvy Fighter is an enemy phase, full null follow-up. It's not partial, it's literally full, so she gets her doubles into a speed check, and the enemy doesn't get any auto doubles. It's very powerful that this actually now exists on an armor, and it's not limited to something like Hardy Fighter. And for whatever reason, there's also an additional, I mean, all fighters, I guess, skills have this. Anyways, the additional part here is, again, another damage reduction portion added onto it, as long as whoever uses it is faster. So not only does she have damage reduction in her weapon, she also has it on the B skill, and honestly, this is probably something you'd want to keep as it is. Unless you were to sub it out for like Hardy Fighter, and then run maybe something like Pavis, or Escutcheon, whatever. I'd say the one thing lacking is the slaying portion on the weapon, but it's okay. You can still run with that. Anyways, save skill. So, see, like this is as base kit synergistic as it's going to get. You probably don't even have to change anything, but I do really like the Future Vision and where she fits into this meta. It's funny that they actually pair up against the red enemy, because why not? Next up is female Robin, also a armor, colorless tome armor. Okay, so I think that's actually pretty rare. I don't even remember having another colorless tome armor in the game. That she might be literally the first of. I literally can't think of one at the top of my head right now. Anyways, even follow-up and iceberg, all just kind of whatever. This is new though. We have an AD far save, so that implies that if you wanted to deal with physical threats better, that you would use this far save over, I guess, AR far save, though I don't even. It doesn't really matter. Okay, special preference weapon here. So it's a slaying tome, which is already pretty good. There's not too many of these in the game. And the additional effects that she gets are based on how many movement types are actually on the team. So this meaning like infantry, cavalry, armor, and flyers. Now it doesn't include the like Robin herself, so you actually need another armor for it to count, but thankfully all effects are triggered by just having 3 other ones. If you think about Aether Raids, you pretty much should have all this covered anyways. So if you look at like a standard light team, you have Ashe as infantry, either Air or Peony as flyers, and then at that point you can just add someone that's like a cavalry on the team or another armor, probably another armor, and then you have all of the effects on this weapon just like that in effect. It's really easy, pretty easy conditions to be realistic. Most teams will likely be multi-movement types. Anyways, so the effects on the weapon are daunting, attack, defense, res -5. I think that's pretty good. But one thing that's not realized here, maybe you missed it, is that daunt effect is applicable to allies combat as well. It's a like Ashnerd rain effect where you're like debuffing foes within 3 spaces. This obviously means she's good in like save balls where you're running multiple daunt effects, or just stuff like Flame and Hanoka, and just really swinging the stats in your favor. The second part is, again, a first attack damage reduction, similar to what Lucina had. And finally, the third one is pretty much healing to the unit and allies in 3 spaces during combat. Again, a very strong effect, similar to the Bloom's weapons from last year. So these are actually pretty solid effects, and I do feel like Robin, even as a one-off, is just going to safely fit into the kind of like save balls if you wanted to run it. Like this feels kind of like just an upgrade over Henriette, and probably with better matchups. The thing that I'm not sure of here is whether Robin will be fast. Most versions, I think all versions of Robin have been fast, and in this particular screenshots we see that Robin is doubling, but that could be just the result of even follow-up, denying the enemy follow-up, and her getting one. So we don't really know yet whether she's fast, but if it is, it's probably an upgrade to what Henriette was last year, from what I see here. Anyways, we have the overdramatic Owain here being a Blue Lance Cav, and honestly, nobody really cares about Blue Lance Cavs, so you can consider Owain here being as good as fodder is, and that's literally what he is, as he has attack speed bond 3, Wings of Mercy, Blue Flame. This is actually pretty solid fodder at the end of the day. I think you could use all of this pretty well. And then he comes with a new weapon, a new Blue Lance, and it's actually pretty good. So it has an enemy phase clause, foe initiates combat, or foe HP 75%, and it gives 5 attack and speed. But what is cool here is that it neutralizes the effects that give your foe those auto doubles. So think of stuff like Bramimond or Tibarn, who have these characters who just have these auto doubles, and this is a great weapon for shutting down those auto doubles. It means you don't necessarily have to run no follow-up, or you run like portions of no follow-up, and that's a good inheritable. It's pretty good. Owain himself, though, probably no hope. I don't see him being any relevance at all to the current metagame, as dramatic as he is. Blue Flame is great for arena as fodder, so pretty nice. Alright, and the all-star of the banner, even though the other ones are already pretty good, besides Owain, we have Red Bow Duo Chrom. I guess as contrast to the Blue Bow legendary, but yeah, there's quite a bit to talk about here. So, oh boy, okay, where do we even begin here? So, okay, he has Deadeye, he has Time's Pulse, he has a Slaying Bow, he has 2 Change Fate. I think the best place to start here is that this is, again, a very high-scoring duo unit, exactly the same as Dual Dogger in scoring, because 2 Change Fate, if you didn't know, scores higher than every assist in the game for whatever reason, and because Arena calculates SP costs, this means that Duo Chrom here is going to score up to what is effectively 200 base stat total, even though it says 195 in the tooltip there. Anyways, so yes, he is pretty much a type of unit who is going to be manipulating special charge. I think this is the best way to put it. Let's try to go over what the bow does and why it is so good. So it's a slaying bow, which means Deadeye becomes a 2 charge, and it has it effective against armored and flying, just like his weapon from Legendary Chrom does. Now, he has that movement assist skill clause as well, just like Legendary Lucina, where once you use something like 2 Change Fate, or somebody uses like reposition on him, they get this additional effect. And thankfully it's once per turn, but this additional effect is nowhere else to be found in the game, where you are controlling special acceleration. So if he uses to change fate, or somebody like repositions him, both him and the unit get additional special cooldown count -1. This effectively means that you can charge your specials every single turn -1, as long as you're using a positional either on Chrom himself, who gets to move again, or somebody just repositions him and they get plus Chrom gets accelerated. It's only once per turn, but that is crazy because that means that Deadeye gets accelerated off of using Change Fate once. But it also means that this is pretty much counterplay to even Pulse Tide, or Pulse Tide in general. Or just supporting a unit who really needs special acceleration in some way. So he's an infantry, so he could run stuff like Infantry Pulse. He has Time Pulse himself, but you can pretty much set up these big nuker teams with like AoE specials. You can not care about even Pulse Tie on something like Summoner Duels, where stuff like Yuri or Fjorm, Ascent of Fjorm are getting their specials knocked off by even Pulse Tie or Regan or whatever, or just charging Regan special again. So you just use this bow, change fate, and you're just like setting up specials all over the place. This is very, very, very good. It's nowhere else to be found in the game. It's both supportive, very strong, but also really good for Chrom himself, where he's likely going to have some sky-high attack and just nuke things really well. So yeah, here's the thing. If that wasn't enough, he gets an initiation clause or 2 spaces an ally, where he gets 5 to all stats and an auto double. Okay, okay, the difference between him and Legendary Chrom is that Legendary Chrom was nulling his own penalties, and this one doesn't. This one has an auto double. I assume that he's going to be somewhere middling speed again, or maybe just a little bit, not fast. He's probably going to be similar to Legendary Chrom, where you'll still probably want to speed make him speedier, just because if you make him speedier, that does enhance his bulk, but also doesn't make him reliant on this auto double effect, especially in a game where there's a lot of these effects that are just denying doubles. We just literally saw Owain with a weapon that denies auto doubles. I believe Lucina had it, Hardy Fighter has it, so speed is very important in the game, as you can't really totally rely on these effects. But yeah, this is great. This is actually very strong as a one-off, and we haven't even talked about the dual skill, which does have relevance, of course, in Arena Assault, PvE content, and Summoner Duels. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, there's the stat spread, actually. So we can see it right here, 58, 27, 40, 26. It looks very Legendary Chrom-ish, but just with more stats because we're later on. So this feels very similar. But yeah, dual skill. So inflicts attack speed defense res -5 on unit and allies within 2 spaces a unit through next action, and grants grand strategy to those units. Now, I had to double take when I initially read this. I was like, wait, you're debuffing yourself. Why would you want to do that? But then I realized quickly it probably is going to make you just stronger anyways, and that's what it does. So if that wasn't enough, grants the following effect to unit, foe cannot make a follow-up attack. So not only that, but you're basically giving sturdy impact and grand strategy. So you're debuffing yourself, denying enemy follow-ups, and then grand strategy, which is, as you guessed it, unity to all stats. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty solid, I guess. It's not like, I don't know if I would consider it one of the best dual skills, and maybe I should make a video strictly on ranking all these dual skills, because we have so many now that I literally forget what half of them do in the game. You don't see them in Aether Raids, you see them mostly now in Summoner Duels, and maybe Arena if you're using them, but that's pretty much all you do. And yeah, this is strong. I don't necessarily think it's one of the best, though. It is just a stat ball check type of thing. You are technically inflicting penalties on yourself, and enemy units can actually take advantage of you having penalties. So it's not always a good dual skill. It can be one that's detrimental in some scenarios. But yeah, so I don't know where I'd rank this. It's probably not as good as some of the self-dance kind of skills that the Ninja Lin and Ninja Corrin have, or Dual Dogger's Pathfinder for Everyone effect. I still think those are very powerful, and this isn't necessarily on that level. It's still very good, but I wouldn't put it up there. So yeah, I guess that pretty much covers everything for here, folks. As we can see later on, Lissa is given to us as a armored healer. As of recording this video, I've seen that Ground Order Seal is now also included, and that her staff isn't the same as Owain. It is I believe, just like heal, like Breath of Life type effect if she sees combat, and a defense res 6 as long as she's around friends. So she's just very bulky type of unit, and I will talk about that in the analysis. So yeah, to conclude this, of course, Feb Pass players can spark. The banner lasts a solid month, which means that you have plenty of time to consider whether you should or shouldn't be summoning on this banner. I think if you care about Summoner Duels, which based on sentiment is probably not many of you, then Chrom is as good as it gets as a must-have, because he does actually play into the Summoner Duels meta. And this is my issue with Summoner Duels and investing, folks. There is no way you're going to be able to keep up your orb income with Summoner Duels, as they just keep releasing these type of units back after back, just again and again. Like we saw Summoner Duels released before Dual Dogger. Dual Dogger happened. Dual Dogger is very powerful. Now we have Chrom. Chrom is also very good. So this is my issue with summoning trying to chase a meta. None of these units particularly help you progress in the modes, such as Arena or Aether Raids, where merges on something like Plumeria obviously can help you rank in Aether Raids, whereas Legendary Heroes can provide better scoring in all the Colosseum modes, such as Arena Assault, Legion's Battles, and Arena. So if you choose to commit to this sort of banner, you're basically chasing whatever new units come again and again, and we're going to just keep seeing this sort of stuff. I don't deny that actually all of these characters except Owain probably are very powerful and really good and even usable at one-off. So, you know, if you just want to like play with a new toy and use them in many different game modes, then by all means they're gonna be good. This isn't what I would call an easy skip. But again, you're not going to have enough orbs to throw around between new legendaries, mythics, and potentially whatever merge projects or goals that you have in mind, where you're not just being encouraged to spend out of your budget. That's it, folks, for me today, or at least this video. I'm going to see if I can put together a Should Poll video. I talked about it a little bit here, but I put a Should Poll analysis video on Chrom, and I want to take a look at Lissa, and then tomorrow we'll probably look at Weapon Refine. So there's some videos to come. Thank you guys for watching as always. Last reminder, smash that like button and sub if you haven't already. Maybe consider, again, the YouTube member join if you want to, or Patreon, or at the very least, come check me out on Twitch. I do stream there almost daily, 5 times a week. Love you guys. See you in the next one. Peace.
It's over.